Well, welcome to another episode of The Minority Voice. I'm your host, Jeff Vega, and as always, please share, like, comment, and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, so do that. And today, we have Patrice here again for our weekly update. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good.
It's nice to be here, thank you.
Good. So you were on vacation, because we didn't mention it before. You have a surprise happening. Well, not a surprise, but...
Yes, our daughter is pregnant with twins, and son-in-law, daughter and son-in-law.
Awesome, and that's going good. Is that
going well? Yes.
Is this your first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
and she's
awesome.
32 weeks 32. Last Sunday. So
that means 8, right? Am I right?
It means 8 months, but yeah,
okay.
that's right.
Because it's 40. Is it 40 weeks? I don't
yes.
remember. Anyways,
you're right. You're
okay.
absolutely right. But with twins, they don't expect it to go full term.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So, let me just say, I actually attended my first hearing. So you've got me motivated to go, and I've attended my first hearing, and that reminded me why I don't attend them. Okay, but I did. I said, okay, let me get engaged. Let me show my face there. I didn't testify, but
Did you fill out a card in support or opposition?
No, I didn't do
either.
You
didn't fill out a card?
No,
well, you can move up. Next time you can fill out a card.
Okay, that's my next step?
Yeah, you can evolve into it.
Okay. So, in this week was Legislation Day, right? Is that correct?
Yes, I guess it was, yeah.
Okay, so, and I guess they have that every year.
It's probably something they enacted into law.
Okay, yeah, because I've seen all kinds of people there, and so tell us. I know you did some testifying this week in your group. So let's share some of the bills that were out there.
Well, yeah, we had 3 people testify this week on 3 different bills actually. One is by Representative Paquette.
Okay.
And it's a very interesting bill because he's recommending that we put some type of security codes into the paper, the ballots, so that they can be identified as actual ballots. And it's interesting because there were a lot of questions that the legislators were asking, and the things that people brought up were quite interesting because. For example, Mr. Paquette said, well, you can't even use a coupon in a store anymore because they micro mark those because they have $6 billion or a lot of fraud on coupons at 15 cents a coupon or whatever.
Right, I can imagine,
yeah. And of course our bills are not legislative bills, but our money bills, right. Dollars and 20s and stuff, they're marked with microcoding on them.
Yep, and they got the strip in them too. It's interesting that you mentioned that one because I guess you've got me turning into somewhat of a geek because Adam D'Angeli.
Yes.
He had a podcast and he was at that hearing.
Yes, he was. He gave a very powerful testimony, by the way.
I didn't get to that part, but I was listening to it on my radio on my car, and I thought, okay, I'm listening to a hearing on the floor. Well, not on the floor, but in conference, and they mentioned it, and I thought, and I don't know who it was because I was just listening, but there's a schmuck on the committee. He's asking about how much is it going to cost. Right,
and actually, Adam brought up some good points about the cost. It's really minimal, the difference. It's a very minimal difference.
Wait a minute.
Maybe between 3 cents and 5 cents. He compared, actually, when Adam came up, he pointed out that the stationery that the legislature uses has, with their gold embossing on it, and I think it has some watermarks on it. And the watermark is like a couple cents more than the non-watermark. Sure. And Adam pointed that out, so it was funny.
He said that because I thought, when does a Democrat care about what something costs? When? David, do you know? No, of course you don't know.
Well, it was also very interesting because a lot of people didn't testify, but they submitted cards in opposition. And the League of Women Voters is opposed to marking the ballots. And pretty much the Secretary of State was awkward. Adam Reams is the deputy political authority, or I can't remember his title exactly, but he hemmed and hawed. He didn't really want to say, he couldn't bring himself to say he was in favor, but he couldn't find any justification for being opposed. So he danced around that a little bit.
So do you have a feeling on it? I didn't talk to Adam about it, but you have a feeling, is it going to get through committee?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Because there are no good reasons to stop it.
Okay.
I mean, there are people that don't want it, and then you have to ask why. Why would you not want it? You know, you'd have to have a nefarious purpose not to want some type of security.
So my question would be then, I should have asked first, is will they put it up for a vote?
Yes, and they'll put it. My guess is it'll go through committee, it'll be voted on, and Gretchen Whitmer will veto it.
Yeah. But a lot of times, and I hate to say this, but our side, from what I understand in that committee, not going to mention who she is, but she has been accused of stalling legislation from getting up for a vote. So.
Oh, well.
So, anyways, that's another story.
I hope that doesn't happen because actually, Chair Boland was asking a lot of questions, and they were good questions.
Okay.
And based on her questions, I sensed that she was in support of the bill.
Good. So, what other bills did you?
Two more bills were pretty closely related.
Okay.
Sarah Leitner, introduced both of them, 5253 and 5254 or something like that.
No, now you know the numbers. Huh?
Only for a little bit, and then they're gone.
Right.
But they were both based on prohibiting clerks and government agencies from taking non-governmental money. So it's basically in response to the huge $400 million that came. I think 20% of that or more went into Michigan. 10 million or more went into Michigan, and it was allocated very targeted into certain districts that they wanted to get more Democrat votes out of. So the point really that was made very well, I thought, by Alex Wedden, who testified for PIME. That's a violation of the Equal Protection Act when one district gets much better equipment, more signs, more readily, the voter boxes more readily available, and it's not fair to everybody else. So if a donor wants to donate a whole bunch of money to the elections, let it go to the legislature, and the legislature can divvy it out equally to all. That makes sense. All districts.
So now, what was your feelings on that bill? Was it gonna pass? And I guess I should ask, because the Republicans control the House and the Senate. Of course, they're going to want election integrity.
Yes.
More so than the other side, who is fine with the way things are because they can cheat. That's right. Democrats, you cheat. Bottom line, okay, you cheat. That's it. You're cheaters. But I digress.
Just on the microfibers put into the paper, it was unanimous that every organization that leaned left was opposed.
They want to cheat.
That's the only explanation I can think of.
That's it. Yeah. So on this one bill that you were just speaking about, the money. So
same thing.
So is it gonna? It's gonna pass though.
Well, it should. Okay. There's a lot of interest in it. We talked to Sarah Leitner afterwards, and she mentioned that a lot of clerks received significant amount of money, and I think they're beginning to get a list from FOIA or whatever. They're beginning to find out which clerks received money, but they still don't know how much.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff that shouldn't have gone on. Money shouldn't be moving around during an election.
Exactly.
And people don't know who's getting it or how it's being used. I mean,
and the sad part about it is, I hate to say this, but there were some clerks on the Republican side are just as, I don't want to say guilty because I don't know, but they're in question on how they handled their elections because of the money they got too. So
I think generally the clerks work really hard and they do a very good job. But of course, in any profession, there are bad apples.
And that's just who you are. You're just a positive. Give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Me? No, you ain't getting it.
Not Jeff, no.
I'm new. I guess I'm tainted, right? But anyway, okay. So what other bills?
Well, that was it in terms
Okay.
of the House Elections Committee.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
and
you know,
the Senate had a hearing actually for Thursday, but it was canceled, and it's rescheduled for like November 10th.
well, you know the committee that I went to, the bills that they were looking at, it was the cannabis one. I picked a good one, right, David? Cannabis, right?
The cartel.
You
they
know,
call it the cartel.
yeah, the
bill,
cartel.
right?
You know, I do not smoke weed. Nope. Did that back in high school for a brief minute. Okay, that full confession. I'm not like Bill Clinton. I did inhale. Okay, I did. All right, but it was a short period of time in my life. Moved on. But you know, I would have thought that you go these hearings and there would have been somebody giving out samples. No samples were given out. But I digress.
Really, this wasn't about marijuana, though. This was about
Yes.
big money rubbing the small provider out.
Yeah, and that's what it really was.
Really, wasn't it?
It was about, as they call it, the cannabis cartel. They want to set up the lobbyists to control the flow of that industry, because you know the reality is I tell people, as I don't smoke weed and don't advocate it at all, but it's really going to be the next Apple, Google, as far as, you know, a product in the market making money, and it is going to be. And anytime you have that, you have lobbyists that want to take
A lot of
control
people
of
want
it.
to play in that ball field.
And the money that they're going to give these politicians is going to be endless. So, yeah. So that was my my one introduction. So maybe next time I'll go to something more fitting to what I believe in.
Well, let me give you a tip then.
Okay.
The Senate hearings start right on time.
Do they?
And the House hearings don't always.
No, this 15
So if
minutes
you really
late.
want to go in and you want to get right to business and get out and go to the Senate hearings.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, and wreak some havoc there. But so let's since those were the bills. Is anything important coming up that we should know about? Maybe next week or the following week that's out there?
They haven't notified us of
Okay,
any, but
okay.
I'm sure there are. They're really cooking bills right now. There seems to be a lot going on.
Because you know what I mean. In like 2 weeks they're gone. They're done.
Oh, is that what the rush is? I didn't
Yes.
think about all this vacation time.
Oh yeah, deer season, man. That's
Deer
it.
season, well, and there's Thanksgiving coming up, and then you get
Well,
the
no.
holidays,
Once
Christmas.
deer season hits, they're done through January. It's done. It's over with.
I didn't
They
realize
got-
we had so many deer hunters
Oh,
in the legislature.
Well, you probably a small, minute number are hunters, but it's like, hey, this is paid vacation, so they're gone. But so nothing. But let's talk about a couple things. One, and I know you were very instrumental in, is the national popular vote.
Yes, that's a real big issue. It came up, actually, I received into our Pure Integrity for Me Gmail.
Okay.
I saw an email come through saying, you know, there's a hearing coming up on the national popular vote where they're determining the petition language. And the person who sent this was the clerk, and she sent me the agenda. And there were 2 items on there of great concern. One was the national popular vote agenda, 100 words.
Right.
To get it on the petition, they have to use 100 words, and it can't be more. It can be less, but it can't be more. And the other item was they had the HART voting systems on there. So I immediately called Norm Schinkel, because I saw he was chairman of that.
Okay.
And we had quite a discussion about the HART machines. And I then subsequently sent him information about what they found in Arizona on Dominion machines.
Real quickly,
But then-
tell people what the national popular vote is.
Okay, the national popular vote would basically say that if Michigan voted Republican, let's say Michigan votes Democrat, okay? If the majority vote of the national vote went for a Republican, Michigan's electors would vote for the Republican. They will go with the national vote.
Right. The popular vote.
The popular vote, yes. And that's a real, I mean, we are not a democracy. We are a republic.
Yes.
And our founding fathers were very careful to set up states' rights where you have your own electors, you have your election, and those electors are bound to support the candidate that wins this state. Now, if this were to pass, and it's been cooking for since, I don't know, 2008 or so. So people don't take it
10
seriously.
plus years, yes. Mm-hmm.
But they need to take it seriously because they need just 75 more electoral votes and it will go into effect. A lot of states have signed.
I think 16 is signed.
16, that's
Yeah.
right. And the Washington, D.C., which has 3 electors.
That's the Convention of State.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It could be 16, though. I don't really know the number, but they do count Washington, D.C. because it has 3 electors.
But like they got like 180 electoral votes already.
179.
Okay.
That's right.
And they need 271.
Or 272?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, that's right.
To make
so
happen.
it's within sight.
Yeah.
So they're very interested in getting it through.
Yeah. And the danger of it all is you take a state like California and New York,
highly populated.
they will control the direction of the country.
That's right.
And here's the thing. A state like California, their voter laws, the lack of voting laws. So they have a population of 50 million. Well, they're going to have a voter turnout of 50 million people.
Yeah.
You know,
even though it's 40
right,
million didn't really vote.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
and that's the danger of it. So now
That's one of the dangers. That's right.
So they submitted a petition to get on the ballot, right? Well,
Yes,
okay.
they had their 100 words,
Okay.
and after I called Norm, he said, "Well, you can take a crack at sending us your 100 words if you want." So we all went to work and came up with the 100 words that we thought would be appropriate.
Okay.
And
How'd that turn out?
Well, it turned out pretty well because I sent it to the representative and Garrett Wheat and Senator Johnson's office, and I sent it to everybody I could think of that would get back with me, and so I had several attorneys. William Wagner reviewed it.
Okay.
And
Well, that's a good one then.
yeah, he's very good. Okay. He's a professor and he's an expert on constitutionality.
Yes.
And he said, as far as he could see, there was nothing. Everything that we said in there was correct. But we wanted to have in there, as you mentioned, that Michigan would be subject to the voter laws that any other state has. Because if Vermont wants to have illegal people vote, those votes would count against us in a popular vote. So we wanted to have that. They took that. That was struck out. And we very much wanted to say that when you're describing a bill, for me, it's like writing a news story. Your lead sentence has to say what it's about.
Right. Okay.
And this didn't. This was a sales pitch. It was one person, one vote, which of course everybody would agree with that. But that's not what the bill is about. That's what our nation is about, and that's already written in the law. So fortunately, between Tony Daunt and Norm Schinkel, there was agreement that first sentence had to be changed. We didn't get the other 2 sentences that we wanted, but
maybe you can suggest this. Say, we'll let you have that, but if you let us put at the bottom, if you sign this, you're an idiot.
yeah, basically. But it passed in Colorado in 2019.
Yes, yeah.
The other thing,
But in 2015 they passed smoking marijuana. So they've been high ever since.
Here's an interesting.
digress.
No, not really though, because what could happen? What could very well happen is say by chance, the popular vote goes for a Republican, and California goes soundly for a Democrat. Do we really think the electors in California will honor that agreement and vote for the Republican?
Of course not.
They will not.
No, of
so
course not.
This will only work when it's a Republican in a swing state.
Exactly.
Yeah, that has to go Democrat.
So folks, be on the lookout because they're going to be coming around. Now, did they pass it already?
They did approve it, yes.
So now, is it, It starts when the first signature is put on that petition, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So when the
Yeah,
very first, whatever date they
Whatever
get
date
that
that
first
is.
one, they have what, 3 months, 90 days, 120 days?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't. It might be 6 months. They might have 6 months. Yeah.
So folks, know this, that you see that, don't sign it.
No.
Don't sign it, okay? Simply put. Just remember what I said. At the bottom of the fine print, it states, if, this is by my interpretation, if you sign this, you're an idiot. But anyway, I digress.
That's in the fine print.
That's in the fine print. And one other thing that let's talk about before we wind this down. That's real big. That's going on right now is redistricting.
Yeah, redistricting now is in stage 2.
Okay.
Stage 2, phase 2, I guess they call it.
Phase 2, yep.
Yeah. And so now and I think they're concluding their hearings. I think those are coming up to an end here.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I actually was watching on Zoom the hearing.
You're a sick man, Jeff.
I know. See what you did to me? What you've done? Dave, you got to save me. You got to save me, man. I mean, I feel like Michael Corleone in that scene of The Godfather. Yeah. I tried to get out and they dragged me back in.
They
pulled me back in. So you did 10-1 in
yes.
Lansing, right?
Yeah, Jim and my husband and I did.
Okay, so how did that?
Well, it was it was an interesting experience because it was in the massive Lansing Center, and so it was a great, huge room, and the commissioners, the MIRC, were up on the dais, and they also had a large video screen for people that wanted to call in by Zoom, and it had a clock on it. So when you went to the microphone, that clock started counting down. You had 90 seconds.
Right.
So there was no, a
Right.
lot of waxing eloquent.
Right.
People got right to the point.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because before the rock the vote that pushed this so hard and got the voters of Michigan to approve it, basically said there should be no gerrymandering. But now that what we're hearing is that they were basically, they have to prioritize communities of interest.
Right.
So if they can keep a town together or a school system, it makes sense, But now a lot of people were arguing that they needed to unpack Lansing and unpack the city. Unpack.
Okay.
Yeah, so the code word was unpack for gerrymandering because they were saying they were saying the Democrats will be an advantage unless we unpack Lansing. And I thought this whole thing was about not gerrymandering, and now they're trying to gerrymander. So it's a lot of give and take.
Your assessments. What would you come away with feeling? Do you think they were doing a good job?
I think if I came away feeling like I was just so glad I wasn't one of those poor commissioners. All these hearings they sit through and listen, and no matter what they do, they're going to end up with a lot of people mad at them. So I think they're trying very hard, and a lot of them have no background in any of this. Map drawing isn't even something that most of them have any background in, let alone making decisions based on communities of interest and basically the equal population. So they can't, every district has to be the same size.
Right.
So you're trying to have communities of interest to be together, and you have to have them be the same size. So it's not an easy thing. I think they're learning that it's harder than anybody thought.
Yeah, and there again, I listened to testimonies by individuals where I thought, okay, this is partisan, and but I also watched the commissioners start realigning where they would take precincts and I thought, okay, there's a lot of thought going into this, and I was impressed with it, and I'll probably, from a Republican standpoint, I'd probably be in the minority and think that I'm okay with it. I mean, the final results still has to come out.
What happens in the end is what counts.
And so, but we'll see what happens. And so now, from what I understand, they're going to be finishing up these hearings.
I think so, and I'm not really sure what phase 3 is.
Yeah, well, phase 3, I think it's a 45-day period of getting feedback or whatever.
Okay.
And then
I think then they put the maps out there again
right.
for people. Yeah.
And I think, and then at that time it's December 30th. I think that I heard somebody say in that group that that's the day that it'll be finalized. That's it. And they did say also that the only one who has a say over what this commission does, and that's the state Supreme Court.
Which is good. They know who they report to.
That's it. That's the only one that they have to report to, and
That's
that
good.
the fact that December 30th we'll have it, and that'll be it.
I think it was originally due November 30th, and they got an extension.
Yep.
But I mean, they're working hard, I think.
So I'm okay with it so far. So hey, it's good to have you here again.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to seeing
Thank
you
you.
again next
Thank
week.
you, Dave.
And until next time, Joshua 24:15.